how we doing today? It is Calvin Raab. Hope you're having an awesome day today. Now, whenever anyone mentions real estate investing, oftentimes the first thing that people think of are rental properties. The idea of buying a house, buying an apartment building, multifamily house, and renting it out. However, there is so much more to real estate investing aside from that. There are so many different ways that you can make money in real estate aside from having to go and buy a building, an apartment building, rent it out, and different things like that. So in this video, I'm gonna go over 13 different ways that you can make money in real estate, 13 different investments that you can make that will allow you to make money in real estate without having to go and buy a house, buy a multifamily place, and rent it out. So by the end of this video, you'll have an idea of 13 different ways that you can go about making money in real estate aside from that kind of traditional thought process. So let's jump into it. Let's jump into the first way that you can make money that doesn't include buying a place and renting it out. So let's jump into it. And if you're new here, my name's Calvin Raab. I make videos all about personal finance, so if you're into anything like that, I would love it if you would subscribe. The first investment that you can make is in self-storage. So this would include maybe buying a self-storage facility that's already kind of up and running, or you could just buy an amount of land and put self-storage on it. Now, this is more kind of a niche market within real estate investing, and it is competitive, although there aren't that many people that are into it. A lot of people are drawn to it because it is far less maintenance. You know, you're not gonna have to worry about a toilet going out or two different renters having an argument or different things like that. It is pretty simple. You just have people come in, they can store things, they pay monthly, and you can make good money through this. I mean, for instance, my family uses a storage unit and we actually pay $300 a month, which is crazy. I don't know how much this storage facility is making, but there's a bunch of units there, and I assume that someone there is cash flowing a whole bunch of money. So this is definitely something to look into. Once you look into it, you'll find that it's kind of a investment world within itself, so there's a lot to know there, and it's something that I would like to look into eventually, but you can figure out how you want to navigate it, and it is a way to make money within real estate. The second investment that you can make within real estate is real estate notes, and oftentimes this is just referred to as note investing. And at a very high level here, what's happening is you are buying a note that consists of a loan that someone is paying off. In this case, it would usually be a property. So as far as kind of an example here, what happens is when you go to buy a house and you take out a loan, something called a promissory note is created, and that is this note that says, I'm gonna pay this much for this house, this much a month at this particular interest rate. And that usually goes to the bank, and then the bank can go and sell those notes to different note investors. Now, you can buy the notes in a whole bunch of different places. I don't really want to go into that right now, but you can go in and you can buy this note. Usually it's at a discount of what is left on that particular note to be paid off, so you can make money through that. And there's a bunch of different ways here. There's different things like you can buy notes where someone has stopped paying their mortgage or where they're still paying their mortgage. There's different things like, oh, you can then foreclose on them. But essentially, you are taking the role of the bank. You are now the one being paid. You are now in control of that loan, and you are being paid, no longer the bank. So it's a very intricate kind of investment, and I do want to learn a lot more about it. I was just listening to a Bigger Pockets podcast about it, which kind of sparked my interest into it. I hope to learn more. Don't know too much right now, but it is an interesting way to go. So if you guys are into that, you'll find that note investing is another whole world within itself, so you can check that out as well. The third investment you can make is through real estate crowdfunding, and essentially what this is just what it sounds like. It's a company that pools in this big crowd and raises a bunch of money from a whole bunch of different people, and then that company goes and buys an investment property. So maybe for this example, I can say an apartment building, and then depending on the plan, they'll get paid back, the investors, in different ways, whether it's through dividends or appreciation, growth, or different things like that. As far as where you can do this, there's a bunch of different crowdfunding websites out there. One of the most popular ones out there is Fundrise. You can go and see what different investment plans are, and you can get that started today, and it's nice. You can just put some money in, diversify your portfolio a little bit, and you don't have to worry about buying a big property, different things like that. You can just easily put your money in and start making a little bit of money there. So it's a great way to just kind of diversify the portfolio a little bit, get some real estate money coming in without having to really put in a whole lot of work. The number 4 way you can make money through real estate is through house hacking. And if you don't know what this is, I have a whole nother video on how to live for free that goes more in depth on house hacking. But essentially the premise is you own a property that has different rooms in it, different units in it, and you can rent out those rooms, rent out those units, and hopefully that rental income will pay off your mortgage and any other bills or expenses that you have to pay for that particular place, and you are then living for free. Now, this may sound like to you, oh, isn't this just the rental property idea? And yes, you could look at it as like that, but I was just coming from the idea that, oh, you already live in a place, you already have an extra room, and you could then rent it out. So maybe this does belong on this list, maybe it doesn't, we can debate that a different day, but it is a great way to jump into real estate, so I do think it's important to add on this list. The 5th investment that you can make in real estate without buying your rental property is wholesaling. Now, there's a lot of talk about wholesaling here on YouTube, and it's definitely grew in popularity exponentially in the past few years. But essentially what it is, if you guys don't know what wholesaling is, and I'll probably make a whole nother video on this because it's a topic that oftentimes is a little misunderstood. But what wholesaling is essentially you go and you find really good deals. Your whole job is finding really good deals. You're finding people that want to sell their place. So essentially what happens is you meet with a homeowner and you create this good deal, you get it into a contract, and then you take that contract and you can take it to an investor and say, hey, I will give you this house, I have it under contract, and I will sell it to you for this certain price. And that price is going to be a little bit more than you have it under contract for. So then that way when they buy it, you then can make the difference and kind of make that spread and make some money there. So this is a kind of a big field, definitely a popular one. There's a lot of misconceptions within it, but the whole idea of wholesaling is just you're out there to find a really good deal, and then you go and find an investor that can take on that deal, and then in the middle you make a kind of a small, not commission, but you make a certain amount of money there as well. So this is certainly a way you can get into real estate if you have really no money. You don't need money to really get into wholesaling, and you can make decent money here. The 6th investment you can make is through house flipping. Now, house flipping is pretty well known. Everyone kind of knows what it is. You essentially buy a house that is in distress or needs a lot of fixing up, a lot of maintenance, and just, it's in rough shape. And you essentially put some money into it, you fix it all up, you make it look nice, and then you sell it for a much higher price, and then you make a profit. Now, there's a lot of TV shows on this, and a lot of people talk about it. And one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is how much work it is. When you do this, you are essentially just getting into another job. Now, if you enjoy it, that's great, but it is a lot of work, but it can be rewarding. You can make good money here, and you don't have to deal with tenants or anything really like that in most cases, because all you are just dealing with the construction elements and fixing it up, and then afterwards you can sell it off and you don't really have to deal with it anymore. The number 7 investment that you can make is in REITs, or real estate investment trusts. And what this is you are essentially investing in a company that then goes out and buys different real estate properties and different things like that, and they make their money through that. And the cool thing here is it's a lot like a stock, and it trades just like a stock, and essentially is a stock. So you can go into Robinhood or whatever you use for your stockbroker, and you can find these REITs. A few ticker symbols are places like AIV, AVB, and I think EQM is another one. There's tons of them. If you just look up real estate REITs online, you'll see a whole list of them pop up, so you can look at which one you think is best, has good returns and different things like that. This is much like crowdfunding, except with crowdfunding you are investing in a particular deal, whereas here you are investing in a company that is making deals. And this one is much more like a stock, and I think that is kind of a cool element as well. So you can go and check out some real estate REITs. There's a whole bunch of ones that are out there, and that light just turned off. All right. The 8th investment you can make is into an accessory dwelling unit, or an ADU. Now, what an accessory dwelling unit is it is exactly what it sounds like. It is an extra unit that you have. Maybe it's connected to your house, maybe it might be in your house, or it's oftentimes when I think of an ADU, I think of an external unit, and you can then rent that out and make some money from there. So maybe you already have an ADU to your property, or maybe you go and build one, you can look at what your return may be to see if adding an ADU makes sense for you. I think most ADUs, I think they're only called ADUs if they're on a single family plotted land and things like that. But it is important to know that there are a whole bunch of rules that surround ADUs. I know especially here in Southern California, there's a bunch of rules about what you can add, what you can't add. So be sure to look in your area to see if it makes sense for you. And then essentially it kind of plays by the same rules of house hacking. You are then going to rent it out and you can make some money through that. But it is kind of a cool thing to add. And if you look at the construction costs, look at what your ROI, return on investment, would be to see if it is worth it for you. The ninth investment that you can make is into land or raw land. And we all know what this is. This is just buying a certain portion of land and then you can either sit on it, let it kind of appreciate, or you can sell it to different contractors or anyone else. Maybe someone wants to build a house there. When it comes to land, it's all about location, location, location. You kind of got to have that Wayne Gretzky idea of what's coming next. Not so much what's big now, but what is going to come next. Now, land you may not think of it as having this great return, but it really just depends on where you buy. I know certainly here in San Diego, I'll be driving around with my dad or with some friends of mine, and we'll see just all these houses up in this amazing area, and we'll be like, man, what if we bought this land back in the 50s or the 60s? Imagine how wealthy we'd be now. But it is all about location, and you can make money through land even though if it does take a little bit of time. But it of course comes with a lot of research. You got to know the land, you got to know what's on it, but hey, you don't have to deal with tenants or anything like that unless you consider like squirrels and maybe some deer or some tenants, or I don't know. But raw land is something you can look at into investing in. The 10th way you can make money through real estate is through Airbnb. Now, this is very popular because you can make pretty good money here. And Airbnb, it's really all about location. If you're in a popular spot, maybe by a certain attraction or by an airport or any other thing like that, you can make money through Airbnb. This is just rent out a certain room of yours, and then you can just make money through that. Oftentimes, this is kind of a version of house hacking. It isn't as guaranteed because you never know when it's going to be full, when it's not going to be full. But Airbnb, it is a way to make good money, and it is a way to make money in real estate. The number 11 way to make money through real estate, that is supposed to be an 11, but it is apartment syndication. Now, what this is essentially a group of people that get together, pool their money into it, and then they will go and buy an apartment building. Well, they don't do it, not the investors, but the syndicators are what they're called. They go and buy the property, and then they will pay back their investors in due time and through whatever the agreements are at a certain percent rate, usually. And one thing about this that I wasn't going to add it is usually with apartment syndications you have to be an accredited or sophisticated investor, and I'm not too sure what the exact details are of that, but you have to be of a certain net worth or making this much per year or have this many rental properties, and there's different rules around what makes up an accredited investor. So there is certainly a barrier to entry there, and generally you get into apartment syndication after you've made a considerable amount of money, and then you can get into it. But if you do really like apartment syndication, you like the idea of it, you can become an apartment syndicator. You work for the company, you put the deals together, and then people then will give you money. However, then we run into the idea that that's the idea of buying an apartment building or different things like that. So that doesn't really get on the list, but the idea of being the investor side of an apartment syndication does fall on this list. Number 12, that's supposed to be a 12, I need 12 fingers, but is commercial real estate. And commercial real estate is essentially just the opposite of residential real estate. It is everything that involves real estate, except it doesn't involve like tenants in the state that people are like living there. No. Commercial real estate is essentially any real estate you see, such as maybe shopping centers, a movie theater, bowling alley, restaurants, barber shops, anything that doesn't include people living there as their own house or their own home. So if you ever see a building and people aren't living there, like in its apartment or anything, that's probably commercial real estate. Now, commercial real estate, much like residential real estate, is a world within itself, and I really enjoy hearing from different commercial real estate investors just because they all have very different stories and nothing seems to be the same between them. So it's a fascinating field, and it's definitely something you can look into. There is a ton of money to be made in commercial real estate, just as there is in residential real estate, and there's so much to learn there. But if you're interested in getting into real estate and you just don't want to deal with that kind of residential side of it, then look into commercial real estate. Number 13, that's a 13, and this one is pretty simple, and it's probably not one that you may have thought would have been on the list because it isn't exactly cash flowing like other ones, and that is just buy a house. Now I do want to start this off with, this oftentimes isn't the best investment for everyone, but it is a way to invest in real estate whether you know it or not. Oftentimes when someone buys a house, they think of it as like, oh, this is a house for my family. They don't really think of it as an investment, but it really is, because what happens is every month you're paying it off, and over time you're getting more and more equity, and people, when they calculate their net worth, oftentimes they don't think about the equity they have in their house, when more often than not, that equity in the house sometimes maybe more than their net worth altogether. So it is an investment in the sense that hopefully it's also appreciating and different things like that. Now, of course, buying a house isn't for everyone. There's that kind of big debate about whether you should rent a house or buy a house, and don't worry, I've got a video coming out on that one pretty soon as well, whether you know you should rent or buy. But it is an investment that you can make, and over time it will hopefully appreciate it, and sometimes it just makes a lot of money there. So it is oftentimes an investment that you can make, and that tons of people make, but they just don't know they're making it as an investment. But that will wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope what you got out of this is that real estate is huge. There are so many different ways to make money within real estate, and I think that's the coolest thing, because sometimes some people run into it and they're like, oh, I don't want to deal with tenants, I don't want to deal with this certain issue, and then they kind of turn away from real estate investing, when, okay, maybe that part of real estate investing isn't for you, but there's so much more out there. And I think that's what's really cool about it, and hopefully this opened your eyes to different ways you can make money in real estate aside from just the traditional rental property. But as I said, real estate is huge. There's so much to it, so I want to flip it to you guys. What are some other ways you can make money in real estate aside from the just buying a property and renting it out? So just let me know in the comments below. I will be going through there, I'll be responding to you guys, and let's just have a good conversation. I really enjoy talking to you guys, and it's always fun to hear your guys' opinions, and I know there's a couple real estate investors out there that are watching my videos, so I would really appreciate if you would talk to me as well down there, and let's just have a good conversation. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. If you are new here, my name is Calvin Raab, and here I make videos all about personal finance, and the reason I do that is because I believe that personal finance can be fun. So if you're new here, I'd love it if you'd subscribe, and when you do, you will find new videos here every single Monday and Friday, so be sure to look out for those, and I've always got new videos coming at you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day. I hope summer is treating you well, and I hope you're having a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day. I think I already said that, but that will end it. As always, my name is Calvin Raab, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.